welcome to day 2. Create your book blueprint. I am so excited that you guys are here. And as you jump in, just know I welcome you and I'm so grateful that you are here. Yesterday we had an amazing talk. If you missed it, please, all of you that are members of the group here, make sure you watch the video from yesterday. It covered something really, really important. We talked about mindset, what's been blocking you, those terrors, and changing those into your truths, the truths that will actually free you and propel you forward so that you will create that book, so that you become that author, so that those blocks and those false voices and those narratives that were blocking you are no longer there. And we broke through that yesterday, and especially if you downloaded the workbook and did your homework. We had some serious breakthroughs, I bet, right? And it's amazing when we start looking at the narrative of what we're saying to ourselves, what we're believing, and shifting that into something that's empowering us. You know, I mean, we're making it up we're making all of it up anyway, right? It's all stories that we tell. And we assign meaning to every event, to every situation in our own minds. And so we might as well select a meaning that empowers us, that helps us to move forward, that helps us to become and do what we really feel is important for us. And today we are on Craft Your Topic Challenge. This is about clarifying your one message. Yeah, it's absolutely fantastic to say, okay, right now I'm going to choose my one thing. And in your workbook, the first question I ask is, what is your area of expertise or one experience that you want to share? One experience. And by honing in, by focusing on that one experience, you're able to say, you know what? Now I have clarity for which of my stories I want to share, which of my wisdoms I want to share, and that actually stacks into the chapters of your book. And so this step is really, really important, because a lot of times potential authors are held up because they don't focus on one idea. And so, I know I'm holding up 2 fingers, one idea. And so, there's a couple of ways you can go about, a few ways you can go about this. One, like I said, is to look at your area of expertise. What is your, so if you're a psychotherapist, if you're a lawyer, if you're a teacher, if you're a doctor, if you're a garbage man and you have specific insights into, and you've related what you do every day into wisdoms of life. You know, whatever your area of your professional expertise area is, that might be the singular focus from which your book flows. Or it could be something that's not related to your job or your profession. It could be something that's related to an experience or time in your life. Yeah. So, like, for example, one of the talks that I gave from the stage, when we had lots of open stages and places like I would speak around the world on different topics. One of the things that I spoke about, and it was my honor, was as part of the Gold Star families for the military. And if you don't know what that is, it's for families that have lost loved ones that were serving in the military. And I got to, because of my experiencing losing someone when I went through that and went down, I had that experience, went down into that dark place, into that chasm, and I found ways, tools, mechanisms, ideas, feelings, everything, connections to pull myself up and out of there, and then come out on the other side at a higher, stronger level. I can now share my experiences in that, so that I can be a bridge, so when they hit that, they don't necessarily have to go down as deep, or if they go down, not as long, or they can even walk across the bridge and to the other side over what I'm sharing. And so that experience I was able to use to help other people. And so that's something that you could do as your foundation for your book as well. And then in that experience, there were a lot of steps, a lot of things that I did, a lot of things that I learned, a lot of things that I saw, a lot of things that I experienced, and those would be the chapters for my book stacking into that. And we'll get into those chapters and details on a later date. But today, we're starting with your one idea. So for anybody here that's live, if you want to go ahead and don't even, worry about, this is the one I must stick with. Just select one. Pick one idea. And yes, Joaquin, New Mexico. I know that you said. I used to live in New Mexico as well, in Albuquerque. Love New Mexico. So welcome. I'm so glad you're here. I feel connected and back there just knowing that you're here. So picking that one idea right now, if you have been kicking around some things, or if you already have some things that you've written and you started writing your manuscript and you started putting your book together or jotting down ideas, why don't you go ahead and write in the chat, what's the general idea of your book? Is it about resiliency? Is it about the nuances of health? Is it about how walking changes your mental mindset? Whatever it is, if you want to go ahead and share that one thing. And if you are not sure right now, look into your homework and say, make that commitment, make that selection, write it down. A lot of times we get stuck also because we try to analyze things in our heads. That does not work. It just doesn't work, because what happens is we end up on almost like a hamster wheel. You ever see on those cartoons where they have the little hamster wheel, where the hamsters just running and running and running, and they're like, I'm going to get there one day, I'm going to get there one day. That's what it feels like in our brain when we try to analyze a lot of data in our heads. The act of taking that pen, writing it down, it does something. It gives us clarity. Again, focus. It gives us direction. And even if we're all over the place when we start writing, it's called brainstorming. This is a tool that authors and non-authors alike, and I use the term non-authors as just people who haven't written a book yet. So, not that it's a special category of people who can't, just that they haven't. But brainstorming, for any kind of purposes, even when it's planning your day, planning your week, planning your life, taking your pen and starting jotting down all of the ideas and letting them flow without editing them, without censoring them, without trying to categorize them. A few things will happen. One, our brains become clear. Our brains become calm. We become a lot more focused, and often we can see patterns start to emerge from the page. So if we start writing down all of the things and thoughts and ideas that we could possibly write about, and then we look and it's like 50 things, bullet points all across the page, and we look and we go, you know what? There's 50 things written here. 30 of them are all about the same topic. 30 of the things that I wrote down here are actually all about, children. So maybe that's the one thing I'm going to choose to start with. And then all of these ideas, you can pick and choose which ones to support that one topic, that one idea. So that is where I would love for you to begin. And the other thing is, as you examine that one thing, there's a couple of questions I'd like you to ask. What problem did it solve? So with everything, there's, that we want to share, that we're trying to impart, there's usually unless it's a story, and even within a story form, there's a problem, and there's something that happens in the middle, and then there's a solution. If nothing happened, it would be, the most boring story, most boring movie that we've ever seen in our life, and nobody would want that. And fortunately, that's not life, or unfortunately sometimes. But um, taking that, breaking down that, okay, what was the problem? How did I solve it? This gives, again, more insight, more focus, more clarity that you can use for writing your book, for bringing your story out. So you have your one topic that you select. It's not that it's excluding all the other topics. It's just that it's a focus area that you have decided on. Whether it's based on a moment in time in your life, an experience, a consistent experience, an area of expertise that you have, whatever it is, that one thing. And from there, examine it. What happened? How did I solve it? And start jotting down those ideas. This is not about writing it out word for word. This is snap, quick, get them ideas down on paper, get them down. This is a great question of focus that helps you to clarify why you're telling your story. Because by, again, singularly focusing on one thing you want them to learn, it keeps us from jumping all over the place into this idea and that idea and this idea, and then having this, barrage of disconnection going on. And instead, it helps us to say, oh, okay, the one thing I want my readers to learn is, and I'm just throwing this out there as an example, the one thing I want my readers to learn is family connections are so important. Or the one thing I want my readers to learn is, no matter where you came from, it does not dictate where you're going. Or the one thing I want my readers to learn is that we are all family, and if we trace it back far enough, we'll see that we're all connected. Whatever that one thing is, or, families are dumb, but so are we, and it's okay, whatever it is. Or, the one thing I want my readers to come away with are, we love the family we have, and no family is perfect. That one idea, whatever it is. And then what happens is all of the ideas, all of the nuances, the stories, the examples, the things we research, whatever it is, we can pull that, and those are our supporting chapters and information. So you notice how just by selecting that one idea, that one area of focus, or that one thing we want our readers to learn, to walk away with, to understand, it automatically channels all of our focus, all of our energy into this narrow stream. And it keeps us from falling all over the place and not finding a way forward. And a lot of times when we're stuck in writing our books, once we've even started, it's often because we have not created that singular focus, that specificity. I always find it funny when I try to say that word, specificity. That specific, that specific way that we're going to focus, that we're going to express ourselves. And so, all of you capturing this live and capturing this on the replay, step into taking that pen, getting out of your head, start jotting down all of those ideas. Capturing, seeing the patterns, finding that one thing, that one area, that one lesson. When I have, thousands of books here, each of these books has a separate focus. This one is a specific focus on holistic health. This one is a specific focus on eating to win. This one is a specific focus on money and growing them through finances and understanding. This one has a specific focus on on selling. This one has a specific focus on vitamins, minerals, and herbs. This one has, let's see, what else? This one is a specific book on German verbs. See now, every single book we look at here, we know exactly what it's trying to tell us. We know why it exists. And the author didn't do that at the end of the book. They did that at the beginning before they wrote anything, selecting what am I going to write about. And just because this person here wrote this book about living your best life does not mean that he doesn't know anything else. I know for a fact that this author has many other things in their life. They have a profession that has, their profession is different. Their family stories. They have lots of other things that they could share, but they chose to write their book about living their best life, and they used some of those stories, experiences, wisdoms, and ahas to support that one idea. Let's see. There's a book there's Stephen Covey's book, The Eighth Habit. We know the 7 Habits books by him, but this one, I love this one too, The Eighth Habit. That's one topic, the 8th habit, one thing that he chose to write his book about. And the book is like this thick. It really is, on that one thing. And so sometimes we may think that, if I choose one thing, I won't have enough to share. I won't have enough to say. Thank you, Monica. I'm glad you love it. Share with us, if you have any idea what could possibly be your one thing that you would love to share. What is that one lesson you would want your readers to learn? And Stephen Covey had a fantastic, amazing, interesting life with lots of different experiences and wisdoms and nuances that are not in that book. But yet his book exists long after he does. His legacy continuing to create and change lives. And so it's the same with yours. And again, you may be hearing possibly those little voices, well, I'm no Stephen Covey, I'm no, whoever. But back to yesterday, and remember, those terrors are not our truths. Flip those little voices around. Yeah, I'm no Stephen Covey, but I'm Monica, and I am amazing. And because I'm Monica, I know how to share about being brave, taking risks, and feeling alive. And I know how to share it in my unique, authentic way, from my experiences, from my vantage point, from my viewpoint. And I love that, and so that is where we're not trying to step into being someone else and trying to imitate someone else, but rather we're bringing our unique voice, our unique story and experiences out in that one thing. Not all of them, not everything, just one thing that we want to share. What techniques would I recommend for maintaining the structure of the story without hindering the creative input? One of the techniques that I would recommend is not trying to maintain the structure in the beginning. Again, taking stuff out of your head, brainstorming, getting it all down. One of the things that I do sometimes when I'm writing is, like I said, I'll jot every idea down, every thought, and some of them will make it, some of them won't. It's kind of like making a film. Some of the pieces are going to end up on the cutting floor and never make the final reel. It's okay. It's still in there. So you jot everything down, and sometimes what I'll do is I will take note cards and I'll jot ideas down. I'll take them and put one idea on a note card. And then what you can do for structure is actually start to put them almost like a puzzle. Say, okay, here's my main point. This is my one thing, my one idea. What comes off of that is this piece here. This one thing supports that. And then this is a different idea, but it also supports that over here. And then I have, there's another idea, and that actually supports this idea over here. you know, that, and so you start to see almost like a tree, the branches. And I do this when I'm writing my speeches as well, and and creating, instead of trying to create the structure from the beginning, because yeah, I find that it can hinder our creative processes and it gets us stuck, because what happens is we shift into the how. How am I going to do this? Is it perfect? Is it right? Did I get everything in order? Don't worry about it. Don't worry about that. Right now, you're in the capturing of idea stage. You know, taking them out of your head, taking them from that hamster wheel where it's just swirling around, um, and just jotting them down. Sometimes I'll jot them down, I'll take scissors and I'll cut them up into pieces and just start moving them around and playing with them. And I'm like, and then I realize, oh, this has nothing to do with any of this, and I'll just sit that over there, you know, and that's okay too. And I can release things that don't support. And then that's how, when whether I'm writing a speech, writing a book, helping my clients write their book, I often look at those pieces and say, okay, how do they connect? How do they fit together? But I don't try to write the book from the beginning. And I think that's really, really, really important, because a lot of potential authors get stuck and they think that it's hard. And it is hard if you're trying to be perfect and have a perfect structure from the beginning. You know, that's like trying to say, I'm going to build the entire house before anything else. You know, no, first you want to start jotting down ideas for your blueprints. What is, and you're in the book Blueprint, you know, what do you want that house to look like? You know, you don't just go and start building and nailing stuff up, and you know, some people do, and then they fall down and they go, oh, that didn't work. And it's the same with our books. In building the blueprint is capturing that one idea. So if you were building a house, it says, okay, first, what am I building? Okay, I'm building a house. There's my one thing. What kind of house? A Victorian house that survives in this kind of climate. Okay, so now you have that singular focus for your blueprints. This is where I am. And so that's what you're doing with knowing what your one thing that you want the reader to learn, or your one area of focus, or your one area of expertise that you're going to focus on. And then from there, you start saying, okay, well, what pieces do I want in this house? What is important to me? And so, you know, okay, I want, 10-foot windows. I want hardwood floors. I want, 4 bedrooms. I want 3 bathrooms. I want this. And you start jotting down all of these pieces. Now, you don't necessarily need to, in the beginning, go, I need this bathroom to be connected to this bathroom, and I need this kitchen to be, this size exactly. You can take just the idea, I want a big kitchen that has a huge stove that I can do lots and lots of cooking in, or I never cook, so I need a little tiny kitchen that somebody else can do cooking in if it's necessary. You know, these little ideas, and they start jotting them down. And so this is the same thing that we're doing with the blueprint for, just like you use this blueprint for, you build on your blueprint for your house, you build your blueprint for your book, but first you jot down all of the ideas that stem out of that one singular focus. No problem, Netta. Glad to go behind the scenes. Yeah, if anybody has any more questions, please jot it down in the chat, and I will happily do my best to help and share. And another question in your homework that you see in your workbook, it talks about your ideal reader. A lot of times what we're sharing because it's about us, or it's about someone that we know, or it's about something that we've observed, a pattern or something. And so it's good to get that insight and that understanding about your ideal reader. Is it based on you? Is it people like you that, because the things that I want to know for me are maybe different than the things that somebody else wants to know. who is a different type of person with a different type of focus, with different concerns in their life. And so I don't need to write a book for everybody. And, if we try to do something for everybody, we do it for nobody. Because, again, we're all over the place and there's no focus. However, one of the misconceptions is that if we focus on who we want to help, that we're excluding other people. And I offer a different opinion. That is simply not the case. Because it's not excluding them, because they're still free to step into it. They're free to own it. My clients, that I work with, I in particular love working with entrepreneurs, business owners, CPAs, I'm sorry, business owners, CEOs, presidents, that have that entrepreneurial mindset, that want to share a positive message with the world, that want to leave a legacy for their children and their children's children, their family and the world, want to be remembered, want to share their experiences and their nuances and their ahas. I love working with that type of clientele, and I focus on that. That does not exclude me from working with other people who don't fit into those categories. And I have clients that don't fit into those categories, and I equally love serving them, because they also have that message of hope, of light, of love, of positivity, of wisdom that they're sharing with the world, that I love being connected to, that I love being a part of. And so, having that focus does not exclude other people from reading your book, but it tells your ideal reader, hey, this is for you. So, for example, if this book here, it's about kids and their health, children and their health, that book is focused on a particular audience, a particular type of person. Obviously, somebody who's connected to children in some way and concerned about their health. And that does not mean that somebody who doesn't, and they may, focus that on talking to parents. That doesn't mean that grandparents can't read it, or that teachers can't read it, because they can and they will, and they would get a benefit. Anybody connected to children could, in any way. Or just somebody who's curious, wonder what it's about, children and being healthy. And then they could pick it up and read it. Tracy said, haha, CPAs like me. That's probably why I said it. Yeah, so see, Susanna says, my aha right now is to actually figure out the real focus I want in telling that family narrative. Yeah, a chronology, probably not. Covey, like, how do we do it better theme? Yes, I love that clarity. That yes, I felt that. Yes, you're welcome. You're welcome. I'm so glad you're. And now, Susanna and everyone else, you see, just by that little shift, that asking the right question, you actually shift into, oh, now I know what I'm focusing on in my family tree, in what I'm looking for. How do we do it better? And so from that question, she's able to pull stories of where things did not go well and where things did go well, and start to compare and contrast and move and capture those ideas, and what are the lessons and what are the commonalities between those two, and what are the differences. And she can now bring other life experiences, her own or other people's, or lessons that she's observed. And so it helps to focus, and now suddenly the book is starting to write itself a lot faster. It's starting to come out. Instead of suddenly just having this bunch of stuff, bunch of papers, bunch of knowledge, bunch of ideas. Monica says, yes, to share all my live aha moments. This is what I want. Share, teach, inspire. I love that. And again, Monica, yes, sharing all of your aha moments. You have, I'm sure you have thousands of aha moments. Being fascinating, being tuned in, being insightful. And there's no need to share all of them. That can feel overwhelming and, again, all over the place. But if we say, what is the one aha moment that was most impactful to me this year, or in my life so far, or over the last 10 years, what was the catalyst that changed, that got me here, that one aha. From there, we can add nuances and sub-ahas and other experiences that support that one. Again, starting with the one idea, the one question, the one thing we want our readers to come away with. And that's really a powerful way to share, to teach, to inspire. In your workbook, there's a chart in there that says, who do I want to help with my book? And this helps you to start to identify your ideal reader. And again, clarifying your ideal reader does not exclude anyone else from reading your book. I have lots of books here that were not necessarily targeted to me as their ideal reader. For example, and I love reading all types of books. Obviously, I'm very connected to books, and as are a lot of you, I'm sure. But, for example, there was a book that I read that was written, I think, in 1910, and powerful, amazing book. I read a lot of them, so I don't even remember what the name of that one was, but I remember it was like from early 1900s. And just from the language that the author used, it was clear he was not writing to me. He talked about, obviously it was written in 1910 by someone with a certain life view and experience. And I was not their ideal reader, their ideal client, or at all who he had in mind when he wrote that book. However, I was able to take that book and separate out, that, okay, this wasn't written to me. However, the wisdom in between that, the ahas, the insight, the truths still hold and are still helpful and applicable today. And so that's why I read it. And, some people, they may get offended, but, well, I can't believe they wrote that for them and not for me. But then they miss the wisdom. They miss the experiences. They miss the ideas. And that's too bad. However, people that are able to transcend the pieces and let go of the pieces that don't necessarily apply to them and see the core message, that one thing you want your reader to learn, that one message, that one area to help them to bridge that gap. That is where your gold is. And so it's okay and wonderfully powerful to identify who you're writing to. So what would you give that person? What name would you call that person? What gender, what age, location, are they married? What's their education level? What's their job? For example, and that's important. For example, if your ideal reader, if their education is that they were high school dropouts, you may choose to use very different language and structuring of your writing and how you're expressing yourself than if your target has the education of a PhD, and so it may be the same information, but it may be presented in very different ways. And so as you start to flesh out more and more of your book, of your structure, having this articulated is really, really important. What are their desires? What are their challenges? And anything else you could think of. If by knowing the challenges, like for example, one of the challenges when I was, reading and editing and putting together my book, one of the challenges that I saw that some people, my ideal reader may have, is they feel disconnected. They feel lost. They feel alone. They feel like no one understands them. Like they have no, that what they do is not connected to anything else. That may be one of their challenges. One of their desires may be, I desire for connection. I desire for love. I desire to make a difference. I desire to be a better version of myself. So knowing that about my ideal reader It helps me to say, well, what would they need um, to get there, to bridge that gap. Uh, and so take the time and jot these ideas down. And again, this is not writing your book. This is not writing paragraphs. This is not, do not get stuck in your head. Take deep breaths into your heart. 1, 2, 3, and focus on what is that one thing, who is that person that you want to receive this message. Where are they? Why are they hurting? What do they need? Why do they need to laugh? Do they need some insight on a certain topic? You know, what is that one thing that you want to get them to help? Now, sometimes we write books without having this in mind, and then we wonder why it's not going anywhere, why nobody is interested, because it's not targeted. Again, it's the same as not knowing what we want to write about, and so we never get to writing. And so again, if we don't know who we're writing to, it's very difficult for somebody to self-select it. Oh, they're talking to me. There are some books that I pick up and I'll skim through it and oh, this is not for me, and I'll put it back down, and it's okay, because that book is for somebody else, and that person right there is going to come right behind me and pick it up and go, oh, this is for me. This is what I was looking for. Yes. And it's going to be the same with your book. We're not here to write to the world to serve every single person with what we know and what we do. It sounds like a wonderful, lofty thing, and yes, we all would love for, I'm sure, to help everyone. But the truth is, if we try to help everyone, we help no one. We often get stuck in our own heads and get in our own way and trip over our own feet, and feel sometimes maybe even overwhelmed, like, oh, it's too big a problem. But if we help that one person, that one specific person, then we start to branch out and help another one, and another one, and another one, and another one. And suddenly that one person is a lot of one persons. And that's how you reach your hundreds and your thousands and your billions of people that you impact. And also, everyone is not going to take everything out of your book. People are going to pick up your book and take away different parts of your book for themselves, because everything that we're reading, we're reflecting in our own paradigm, in our own lives. And so, for example, if there are some books that I read again and again because I'm a different person when I read it. I've had different life experiences. I'm older. I see things through a shifted lens. And so when I read it again, there's a different part that I'm focused on, or there's a different meaning that I'm able to extract from what I've read. And so again, when you're jotting down your ideas, you know, this is not the time to censor them. This is not the time to decide, oh, I can't help everybody, so, you know, I'm just gonna not do it. One person, write for one person. You can do that. I know you can. I believe in you. So who is that one person that you want to help with your book? Anita says, so true. You can extract the wisdom from various sources. A message that speaks to your experience. The right book will always find you when you start looking for it. I absolutely agree. I love that. Thank you, Annetta. Sometimes when I'm feeling like I'm looking for wisdom or inspiration or idea or a way forward, sometimes I'll stand in front of my bookshelf and I'll just scan and scan, and I'll actually tap into that energy, and I'll feel, okay, where am I being directed? I'll glance at the spine, look at the titles, and I'll pull a book off the shelf. I've done this in bookstores as well. I'll stand in front of a certain section and I'll just scan, and I'm feeling and waiting for that direction, where that wisdom that I need at that point in my life, and I'll read it and I'll extract it from that book or those books. Um, and and so, yeah, the right book will always find you when you start looking for it. And a lot of people are looking for your book right now. So once we have crossed the chasm, once we've bridged over, once we have these experiences and we have this desire in ourselves to share, it is my belief that it no longer becomes an option, but a responsibility. A responsibility to share, to help others. The same way all of us have been helped. None of us got to where we are today alone. There were people that shared their experiences, that shared their wisdom in books, in speeches, in recordings, in teachings, in the classroom, walking down the street, talking to you, whatever, in a conversation. There are people that share their wisdom, their nuances, their ahas, and their experiences that stacked and helped us to get where we are right now. And you, Mr. and Mrs. Voice of Desire, that author in you is saying, it's my time, it's my turn. You are ready, you have the ability, and there are so many ways to make this happen. So again, don't get stuck, don't get hung up on getting the exact right words, getting the right structure, getting the the right anything. Right now, get it out of your head. You know, instead of trying to get it right, R-I-G-H-T, get it right. W-R-I-T-E. Write it down. You know, start writing down those ideas. That one nuance. Pick that one thing that you want your reader to walk away with. I'm so excited that we had this time. You know, one of the wonderful things about working in a community, working with a coach, working with an editor, working with someone is we have accountability. We have that community. We have that ability to it's a momentum. It's a rushing river that pulls us forward, that gets us to the result of going from having this idea spinning around in our head that don't really help anybody, to actually holding our book in our hands, to seeing other people holding our book, to seeing other people reading our book, to seeing other people going, oh, I get it. Thank you. That's where that comes in. All of you, we're about to wrap up now. I'm glad you were here. I urge you, if you haven't already, download your workbook. It's in the group. My assistant posted where it's located. There's a post in it that tells you where it is. Download it. Get your homework done today. Start jotting down your ideas, identifying your ideal client, and just write done in the group. Just say, yes, I did it. Done, done, done. And let us know so we can celebrate and support you that you are getting clarity on your ideal client, on your ideal reader, on your ideal story, on your one message. One. And just jot it down. All right. Thank you all. It's been my pleasure and my honor to be here with you live. And if you're catching this on the recording, it's my pleasure. I'm honored that you have taken time to do this, because the world is waiting for you. The world is waiting for your wisdom and your words. Create your book blueprint challenge. Get started. Step by step, piece by piece, and before you know it, you'll go from one day to it's done. I love you all, and I'll see you tomorrow, same time. Bye.